Hey guys, Snupy here. So it's finally time for the Season 4 of Dragonflight Feral Druid PvP guide. A lot has changed since my last guide, which was all the way back in 10.2. New builds, new playstyle kind of thing too, going on with the bigger bites. So yeah, Feral Druid is going to be pretty good this season. And this guide is hopefully going to show you how to get the most value out of it. Again, things have changed, so watch the guide all the way through for a bunch of tips and tricks, best builds, best comps, honor talents, gear, stats. Everything you need to know is going to be in this video. I'm going to put timestamps in the description, so you can kind of skip to whatever part you want the most. But I do recommend watching the whole thing, and you should be getting a pretty good idea of exactly what you should be doing on Feral Druid in this last season of Dragonflight before we go into the War Within. Hey guys, let's jump into it. Okay, so before we jump into the opener and rotation part, I want to quickly kind of cover the builds we are playing. There's two builds mainly that can be played in different scenarios. There is the Cleave build and there's the single target build. So the Cleave build is going to be more played, you know, in threes and shuffle. The single target build is going to be probably more favored in twos. But this is not to say that you're always going to play Cleave in threes and shuffle and always going to play single target in twos. Sometimes in 2v2, for example, against a Unholy DK or Beastmaster Hunter, going Cleave can be a great option. And the same thing in like threes or shuffle. Sometimes there might be a matchup that's very hard to cleave. For example, spell cleave on like a huge map. There's going to be no value in trying to cleave that. So therefore, you can also go single target there. So keep that in mind. There's like, generally speaking, a build you kind of play for each scenario or each bracket, but it's not always the case. All right, so I'm going to showcase the builds real quick, and then I'm going to jump into the opener / rotation. A small side note, by the way, there is the Convoke build as well, but I wouldn't really recommend that to most Feral Druids. But in 2v2, when there's like no pets, the Convoke build can have quite good value. So I will also link that under the video, along with the two main builds. But in this guide, we're not really going to talk about the Convoke build all that much. I actually have a different guide, an old guide on Convoke that is still very, very relevant for Convokes. Just search like Snupy Convoke guide on YouTube, and that should be popping up. But yeah, for the most part, I would recommend these builds the most, 100%. So yeah. The Cleave Bite build is the first one I'm going to talk about. This is the build that I play in pretty much every single shuffle and almost every single threes game. Again, not every single game, because sometimes I might think I can't cleave there. Or, depending on your comp, if you're playing, for example, Feral Mage Healer, you might not want to cleave because you're going to be breaking CC. So again, there are like scenarios where you don't want to do this in threes or shuffle. But yeah, for the most part, in Shuffle and 3v3, I played this Cleave Bite build. So it's actually changed a lot since my last guide, because then we were all about the Bleeds and Cleave. Now we are still going some Bleeds and Cleave with Premwrath, but instead of going like Vein Ripper, Circle, or even Tear Open Wounds, we're getting more bite damage. Double Saber Jaws, double Fury, and yeah, we're basically just maintaining bleeds as many as possible and doing big bites in between. I do want to say this, the actual Cleave build, like the bleed build, where you basically go skip these, and you can expect this. A few more things can change as well for Terrible Wounds. That build is not bad. It's still pretty good. And if it's like a crazy Cleave scenario, you can definitely play that build. But overall, I recommend having this kind of bigger bite Cleave build, because you kind of need that finishing pressure. And with the big Cleave build, you can do a lot of damage, but you're going to be lacking that actual kill pressure, which is a problem. So yeah, here's the build. Again, Cleave Bite build, super, super strong. This is kind of what most Ferals are playing, or at least some kind of version of this. So yeah, that is the actual Cleave build. All right, guys, so now for the opener rotation with the Cleave build. So yeah, for Honor Talents quickly, with this build, usually I play King of the Jungle, Wicked Claws, and a Wild Tumment. Wicked Claws is one that you can kind of change out depending on the team you got. For example, if you got a Warrior, Hunter, or Rogue on your team, you don't really need the healing reduction, even though I quite like it because you can spread it on everything. But yeah, King of the Jungle and Wild Tumment are pretty much non-negotiable when you cleave. Both are huge, huge value. And of course, Cyclones are a huge part of the Feral Druid playstyle. Currently, some people love it, some people hate it. Some people are a bit more on the fence. But it is the case. Cycloning is a big, big part of us right now, especially with the 2-set, because after landing the Free Frenzies from Wild Tumment, from Cycloning, you get 10% more damage for 8 seconds in PvP. So yeah, Now for the actual open though. So the general game plan when you're cleaving is to get full bleeds up because of taste for blood, and then bite. So yeah, basically spread bleeds on as many things as possible. Then we're gonna zone in the bite on one main target, but then potentially swap around as well. For example, if one target uses bark skin, iron bark, whatever, you can swap it over, have bleeds rolling, and then start biting that target instantly. So I'm gonna open up here. I'm gonna try Fury and Stealth. You can also Incarnate Stealth. Doesn't really matter though. Fury and Stealth, Rake, Incarnate instantly. You're gonna Feral Frenzy, then you're gonna Thrash to proc Bloodhounds. Also a huge modifier. 3 stacks on, so it's huge to use. Never go line strength. BT is fairly easy to keep up now, and that's 3 stacks. But yeah, Thrash to Bloodhounds. Then we're gonna Primal Wrath. Then you can Shred, Bite, Slash, start biting. Rake a target, and then Thrash again, reapply that Bloodhounds, and then keep biting. Gonna be doing this until the next stun DR. Then you're gonna maim again, and just keep blasting. Of course, in Arena, there's more things going on. You want to be rooting, cycloning, but yeah, for the base rotation, that's pretty much it though, and I'm gonna show that right now. So yeah, Fury, Incarn, Feral Frenzy, Thrash, proc the BT, can meld, restun Rake if you want to. Keep biting here. Huge damage all around. Keep that Rake up. Reproc the Bloodhounds. And just keep doing huge bites. So one big difference with this Cleave build compared to the last Cleave build, it is that with this build, you actually don't want to spam reapply bleeds. It's more about just maintaining bleeds and doing big bites. Check down right to see my exact rotation right here. Reproc Bloodhounds. You can maim now. Fury again. And keep going. And then you can, for example, Heart. And start cycloning and kind of landing frenzies and just keep pumping damage this way. But yeah, that is the main opener kind of rotation. There's not really much more to it than that when it comes to just doing damage. Maintain the bleeds, keep biting, and then stun, of course, off the R right. And you want to coordinate with your teammates, get to C, and get kills. But the Cleave build is actually very, very simple, though, in terms of just doing damage. Things get more complicated, of course, when you're getting trained down by a Demon Hunter and a Windwalker. But that's kind of beside the point when it comes to this. This is kind of pure, like, how to do damage. I'll talk about more tips and tricks a bit later in the video, and kind of how to deal with getting trained down and not really being able to play freely. But yeah, so that is the Cleave build damage. So they're going to show this better in an actual game. I'm going to show an example right now of how you kind of want this to look in an actual shuffle. Or 3v3, for that matter. Opening. Beat down Warlock here. Compre's got it. Let's go. They swap and wall. Huge. Overlapped. That's big for us, guys. A Clone Warlock here. Clone Boomer. Calls me too, though. Boom is playing well right now. Nice. Insane, insane. Okay, now real quick for the single target build. So, similar kind of build, but we're not going Prime Wrath. We still got those big bites though. So again, same thing. Bleeds, buff your bites. Okay? Full bleeds up, big bites. It's not like you always need to have every single bleed up before you bite, but you want to kind of be aiming for that, right? Fury as well. Keep that in mind and maintain this buff as much as possible. Bloodhounds. Those things are the same in both builds. The difference here is that we're just locking in on one target, which means we're also playing Dire Fixation. When you shred the target, you're going to be doing 8% more damage to it. You could also play this in the Cleave build, but I find it to have higher value in this build right here. So when it comes to on talents, King of the Jungle still has some value in this build, but way less. So here you could easily go like Strength or Wild for more tankiness. Is quite nice as well because it does increase the healing of your regen because it's based on max HP. Or Thorn something, but I would say this right here is quite a good place to start for on talents in this build. So for the single target opener, it's gonna be a little bit more, I would say, scripted and maybe a bit more complicated than the build that I just showed. Keep in mind, we don't have Swarm, we don't have Moonfire though, so in that sense, it's less buttons than it used to be, but it's more clinical. So there's different openers. I want to say that right now. This opener I'm gonna show right here is like a max kind of all-in opener. If you want to kill someone in the opener, which you usually do, force a trinket. This is usually what I do right here. And it's going to involve a lot of melding or a lot of stealthing with Incarn and Meld. So Fury and Stealth, Rake, you can also Incarn yourself, then Incarn instantly. Feral Frenzy, Thrash or proc BT, you can slip in a Bite there, and then you can Meld, Restun, Bite, and then Incarn, Stealth, Rake, and then Bite again. The order on your Incarn, Stealth, and Meld, it doesn't really matter, right? The point is that you're stealthing and raking 2 times here. So all the comp points are being spent on big bites. You might see that here we're not actually ripping in the opener. This is more of a bursty, so it's bursting an opener. We're missing out on that 5% damage from the rip, but I find that to be worth it in the sense of just getting the damage out early in the stun. Because that's usually when you're going to be forcing CDs or killing. Sorry. Okay. Let me try to show it. So here we go. I'm going to open up. Feral Frenzy, Thrash, Big Bite, Stealth, Bite again, Meld Rake, Bite again. So there we got a bunch of bites out in the stun chain. Huge damage. We got 3 bleeds up because of Thrash, Frenzy Assault, and Rake. And yeah. And also Feral Frenzy, actually. So we're only really missing Rip. And that is the opener. Again, slow it down if you watch it, guys. Check bottom right to see the exact order. I really kind of practice this. Get it down. Again, there's like different variations you can do. You can rip. If it's a matchup where you think you're not going to be killing instantly no matter what, or not really going to be forcing things for whatever reason. Maybe they have to have a healer and stealth that's going to stop you, or you're going to get succeed. You can just rip and kind of instead go for like that a bit more long haul. So keep that in mind as well. But yeah, and I'm going to show again kind of what to do after this. All right, now I'm going to do it again and kind of showcase the continuation of the opener. There we go. Same thing again, right? Fury here, Incarnationally, Feral Frenzy, Thrash. You can also rip, by the way. A little bit different here. Big Bite again. And now just keep going. Get those bites rolling. Maintain the bleeds. Again, same thing as Cleave. Maintain bleeds. Bite with comp points. Proc BT. Like so. And just keep it going. Usually when Incarn ends, I will pop Heart the Wild. Not always right after, but I think it's, generally speaking, a good idea. Heart now. You're going to be off Stun Yard at this point too. You can, for example, clone a healer or even a DPS or a pet. Land the clone. Bite. Just like get that frenzy out, and then you can maim again. Just keep going. And kind of rinse and repeat. Bleeds and bites. Again, in arena, you're going to be getting trained down. You got a root, you got a clone. I'm touching on cyclone more. But for the most part, that is what you got to focus on. Bleeds, then bite. I feel like I was going to say that over and over again, but I see this a lot. Like many times, Ferals have horrible bleed up time, and they're not biting. And if they're biting, there's biting when bleeds are not up, missing out on a ton of damage. And yeah, especially in Incarn. In Incarn, get bleeds up, spam bites. Like that is when you're usually going to be killing as the Feral Druid. So yes, now on to the next part of the guide. So I've mentioned cycloning and the importance of cycloning. When it comes to actually landing cyclones, can be a bit tricky, especially if you're new on Feral Druid. But there's a few things to kind of keep in mind if you kind of huge tips and tricks actually that make all the difference. I can kind of mention one of them first. There is precog. Okay, if you fake cast someone, you will be unkickable, unstunnable for 4 seconds, and in those 4 seconds, landing a cyclone is going to be way easier. So when it comes to actually faking kicks, though, that can be tough, especially against good players. But it can be done. This is kind of why I play a good amount of haste as well, because it makes cycloning a lot easier. But yeah, so basically, fake casting, pro tip here. In Heart of the Wild, you might have noticed a fairly new thing. Cyclone speed is increased by 30%, okay? Which means cyclones are even faster, easier to fake cast, and easier to land in general in Heart of the Wild. This is, again, why I heart after the Incarn, so I can keep my pressure going with these free Feral Frenzies. Right. So yeah, one big thing, precog, learn how to use it, get used to fake casting, get used to landing clones. Now, one more big tip for landing cyclones is using roots. Even on casters, they might try line you, whatever, or melee. You know, of course, can try stop you by being on you. Root them, then cast cyclone, and it's going to be way easier to land. Use a bunch of your instant casts on roots, guys, okay? Just try this out, play with it. You're going to find that it's way easier to land the cyclones if you do that. Now, one more good way to do it is doing stuns. Cycloning off a stun is huge. Okay, I do this very often. Is that I'll stun a target, even like I'm gonna kill the target. Let's say I stun someone, their Druid ironbarks him. I'm just gonna cyclone him before the stun is even over, and then swap a target. Cycloning, it's such a good thing for swapping targets now because first of all, you can keep them low and cyclone them on their defensive CDs. And with that, you're going to get good momentum to shift instantly on someone else with free comp points and full blaze up basically instantly, right? So those are a couple of things to keep in mind when it comes to cycloning. At the end of the day, though, if you're being trained down by like a melee cleave, whatever, landing clones is going to be frustrating and can also be quite punishing because if you spend too much time out of form trying to clone, you're not doing damage, you're taking a lot of damage, you're not in bear form, you're not kiting, so it can be quite punishing, so keep that in mind as well. Sometimes the move is maybe not cycloning, at least not if you can't land it in a reasonable time manner. If you're confident you fake kick, go for it, right? But very often you're going to try fake kick, you're going to get stunned and just blast it out of form. So try like build up your game sense. Get Omnibar, track enemy CDs, try Sierra. If I cast Cyclone now, can they stun me and just blast me? Am I in DR? Or do they have to try and kick me? Maybe they don't have kicks, right? A big part of Arena, and especially Feral Druid right now, is knowing what the enemy can do in a certain situation. If you know that they have no stuns, they only have kick, you can just root them and Cyclone, you know, in many cases. Or a slightly different scenario, it might be something else. So keep that in mind. But that's kind of like my quick little tips and tricks on Cyclone. I would say just keep these things in mind, but go out there, try it out, try fake casting, try rooting, try stunning. And remember, Heart of the Wild is your friend. When heart is up, cloning is way easier. Okay, so now for the best gear for Season 4. So, we're still in Week 1, which means, of course, my gear is not quite what it's going to be eventually. Keep in mind, by the way, my gearing tactic for the season is not really to be recommended, but that's beside the point. Because now I'm going to showcase the best gear, and to do this, I'm just going to kind of use my last season gear because it is the exact same. Same embellishments, same everything. The difference is, it's going to be Draconic and not Verdant, right? But I'm going to kind of just go through the gear quickly right now. So on the headpiece, we want to go with Precog. It's called Statuette of Unforeseen Power, I think. That is the embellishment. You can go with Haste Mastery or Verse Mastery. I think both are fine. Again, keep in mind, I'm using some last season gear, and I'm just going to showcase my point because it's so early in the season. But yeah, so we are getting very high verse now, so we're nearing the end of the expansion. I think if you prefer some haste, is all good. A bit more risky. You might just want to be on the safe side and just go Verse Mastery. Both are perfectly fine. Then we got on the neck, Verse Mastery, triple gem it. Here you want to get one of the primary stat gem 2. Right here, Skillful Limited Diamond. I'm going to get that eventually on my Draconic neck as well. Again, very early season right now. Then we're going to have Tear Set on the shoulders, chest, legs, and gloves. Skipping the headpiece and getting the precog as I showed. Verse Mastery on the cloak. Again, Tears the chest. Lifebound bindings with Verse Mastery on the wrist. I would recommend just getting Mastery Verse gems on everything. You guys can see, like, I'm kind of trying out some more haste now. I quite like having high haste. It's a bit more experimental. You can try it out yourself too. It doesn't really matter if you go like a bit more haste over Verse. But just keep that in mind. The most safe thing, the thing that most ferals do, is just going, more Verse. Then Verse Mastery weapon right here. The Axe Staff. Insignia. Medallion. Then we get the Signet of Titanic Insight. Right here. Mastery Verse. Really, really good. Then we got one more Verse Mastering. And then we got the second embellishment, which is the main stat on your boots. Crit Verse. Been using this all of Dragonflight, and it's going to stay the same this season as well. Then Terrasic, called Legs. Sorry, spacing out. Enchants, by the way, just look at the enchants that I'm showing you on the gear now. Copy that for the most part, and you're good to go. And then we got Verse Mastery on the waist. Here, you probably want to get the Lifebound waist instead. It's like slightly higher eye level. But yeah, Verse Mastery on the waist as well. Shadow Belt clasp. And then Verse Mastery on the gloves. Because that is a basic gear. Like stats would be something like this. Verse, Mastery, Haste, Crit. That is the general order. Haste. Some people prefer more than others. I quite like it. Just make sure I'm not missing anything here. Let me watch this. Yeah, no. So guys, that's the gear. And again, just go look at like the enchants. Again, this is actually last season gear, most of it, but it's staying the exact same. And I gotta gear up myself because this season just came out. Now I'm gonna talk about the best comps to play for Feral Druid in season 4. Okay, I want to make this last part short and sweet. Just get straight to the point. So, in 2v2 Arena, right, there's Healer DPS and Double DPS. If you want to play Healer DPS, I'd recommend the most with Holy Priest. Disc Priest works fine as well. I think the other healers are all viable, but Holy or Disc are going to be the best. Get that PI, do big damage. Holy Potter works fine. Press works fine. I think Fist works good as well. But again, Disc, Holy Priest is going to be your best option. But any healer can work. For double DPS, my favorites are Ret Feral, Affli Feral, and also Shadow Priest Feral Druid. Mage Feral Druid can also work. Hunter Feral Druid can also work. They're a bit more sketchy in the sense that you can't really recover as easily. I think double DPS from now almost requires double hybrid unless you're playing Rogue Mage. But yeah, so in 2v2, those are my biggest recommendations. In 3v3, it gets quite interesting. So, the best comp in the game for Feral Druid, I would say right now, is Frost Mage, Feral Druid, Healer. You can play with a few different healers there. You can go with Holy Priest, Holy Paladin, Preservation Evoker can work fine as well. I played with Holy Paladin. I think probably Holy Priest might be the best option. But it's hard to say. The healer can vary, and it can work either way. But yeah, Frost Mage, Feral Druid, Healer. A comp that I've been playing quite a bit on my main this season is Ret Feral Fistweaver. Insane comp. I think this can, again, work with other healers as well. For example, like a Preservation Evoker. But yeah, Ret Feral, Healer. I'd say probably go with Fistweaver. It's super, super strong right now. And quite tanky. Hard to kill because the Ret really offers a bunch of support. And then you also kind of triple run them down. And you have a lot of kicks. Just make sure you coordinate those kicks. And it's a great, great comp. Then we have Devastation Feral Druid. This can also be played with a Fistweaver, with a Holy Paladin, with a Holy Priest. They can all work just fine. But yeah, Feral, Devastation, even Feral, Devastation, Preservation Evoker, Double Dragon. I played it a bit last season. It was really, really good. Those comps are great. And I think now if I'm missing any comps, like there are others, of course, like Lock Feral Druid, Alpha Feral, or other mage spec, Shadow Priest. Feral can play with a bunch of things. Jungle Cleave is a big one, right? Everyone asks me, how's jungle? I think jungle, sadly, is just not the meta right now. It's okay. You can make it happen. It's not bad by any means, but it's just not quite a meta comp. So yeah, those are going to be my biggest recommendations. I'm trying to think if I missed anything. I don't think I did. But guys, that is going to be the guide wrapped up for Season 4, guys. Get that Glad Mount. The Glad Mount is insane this season. Last season of Dragonflight, guys. Best of luck out there. If you have any questions regarding anything in this guide, join my Discord, ask me there, come to my stream. I stream almost every single day on Twitch, twitch.tv/Snupy. And yeah, ask me there. I'm more than happy to answer any questions. And yeah, take care, guys.